Welcome to the realm of intoxicating flavors and head-banging beer reviews.
Welcome to another episode of the Rare Beer Club. I'm your host, the Ginger Yeti. And if you're new to the channel, the Rare Beer Club is a subscription club put out by the beerthemonthclub.com. I receive a box every month that contains 2 hand-selected beers, costs about $60. And I unbox the beers and select one to review blind. Then I review the second one in another video. So I did the unboxing of this. I received this and the Petrus beer and chose to do the Petrus blind. And now I have this beer here. This is the Sin and Remorse Indri Dru whiskey barrel aged beer from Jopen, if I pronounce that correctly, Jopen B.V. out of Haarlem, Netherlands. And this beer, I don't know if you'll quite pick it up on here. If you don't, look at the title card, because the beer label kind of looks like a vinyl record. Because now they have, vinyl records in the past were always just black, but now they have all these different crazy colors and splatter variants of vinyl. And that's kind of what the label reminds me of. So this is, like I said, it's an Imperial Stout in Indri Dru whiskey barrels. I'll get to what that is in a little bit. I was aged for 376 days. It's 11.6% alcohol. And there was a lot going on this label here. Of course, I'm going to need my flashlight for it. It says 376 days aged in Dru whiskey barrels. Beat boring. That's our motto. Everything we brew is abnormally delicious and definitely different. But only you can be the judge. So open up and let the tasty times roll. Aged in Dru whiskey barrels, barrel aged. Over here it says, sinning is winning. I agree with that. And you'll win with this brew, aged on Dru whiskey barrels. This beer has a taste of coffee and chocolate, created by roasted malts. The long finish has whiskey and lots of tannins as well. Why ask for remorse when sinning tastes so good? Can't argue there. Whoa. This has a best by date of November 2043. Today is 2025. I believe I received this early in 2024, so it's probably around a year old. And it has a best before date of November 2043. The only other beers I've had that I can remember that had aging dates that long or best dates that long were those crazy high ABV Scottish beers, the Snake Venom and Bay Hare's Fire, and the Ode Crickville, Ode Beer Cell. Those beers, I think, were 20 years or so. So that's pretty crazy. Ingredients: water. Are they putting these in like... Oh, I'm trying to read the wrong language here. Let me see if I can find English. Ingredients: water, barley, oats, wheat, rye, candy sugar, hops, and yeast. It's printed in multiple languages on the bottle. And what I assume is Dutch or something along those lines was first. And for some reason, I just thought that was English and then couldn't read the word after water. So, the Rare Beer Club comes with the paperwork, talks about the brewery, talks about the beer. And if you haven't gotten tired of turning off the video already, of hearing me talk, let's talk about the history of... It's going to give you some history about Haarlem and the brewery. Then we'll get into the beer. So, from the 14th century onwards, Haarlem was a city with a thriving brewing culture. Today, Jopen again brews historic beers alongside innovative craft beers in the city center in a beautifully restored church, now serving as brewery, pub, and restaurant. We were intrigued by the background story of Jopen and their beers, quickly sealed the deal on every other front. The Jopen Koit Groot beer, in particular, a beer we've featured before, traces its origins to at least 1407, before the United States was around. Back when the city of Haarlem was a significant brewing center in the Netherlands and had its products being freighted elsewhere via the Sparne River. The long period of brewing in this region didn't last forever, though, and the last Haarlem brewery closed back in 1916. That's kind of sad. In the 1990s, the Harlem Beer Society made plans to speed along the recovery of Harlem's lost brewing heritage in tandem with Harlem celebrating its 750th year of existence. Beers were brewed based on recently found recipes dating from 1407 and 1501, and they ended up being pretty excellent. The first of the beers was called Hoppin', based on a 1501 recipe, and this was essentially the official start of an eventual brewery. The actual brewery in Harlem, named the Jopen B.V, was eventually opened in November 2010 inside of a former church. This return of Harlem brewing includes a grand cafe, restaurant, and rectory meeting spaces. In addition to Jopen Group beer, these folks are making some pretty amazing stuff. I've been to Harlem a few times. It's a really beautiful city. Wish I would have the time to go and hit some breweries and try more beers there. But it's definitely a beautiful city. I recommend anybody going and visiting. So, we're pleased to offer Jopen Sin and Remorse Dru Whiskey Barrel Aged Imperial Stout. It's a very limited edition of Jopen's iconic Sin and Remorse Imperial Stout. The original was created in collaboration with another absolutely stellar Dutch brewery, Brouwerij de Molen, brewed with barley, wheat, oats, and rye, and hopped with Columbus hops known for deep understated citrus notes and grippy bitterness. So the beer itself now. Jopen Sin and Remorse Dru Whiskey Barrel Aged Imperial Stout is the first stout we've tasted that was aged in whiskey barrels from India. So that's where this Indri Dru whiskey is from. I've never had that. I've never had an Indian whiskey. I didn't know they even made whiskey in India, but I suppose everywhere makes some sort of whiskey, right? But I would never think of India as a whiskey producing country. Produced by Piccadilly Distillery in Karnal, Haryana, India, under the brand name Indri. Dru is a single malt cask strength whiskey aged in ex-bourbon barrels that add vanilla and toasted coconut notes. Now, I know in a lot of places, United States, a lot of places, you can't reuse whiskey barrels. So I'm guessing a lot of these barrels may have been former whiskey barrels from the U.S. Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, those kind of things. Dru in ancient Indian mythology was the vessel in which soma was collected and offered in Vedic sacrifices. So Jopen Sin and Remorse Dru Whiskey Imperial Stout pours a deep opaque brown black with a thick and creamy tan head that lingers on. So let's get into the pour here. Before I open it up, on Untapped it gets a 4.02 with 747 check-ins. Beer Advocate's an 84 good. This has the cap and cork. Once again, I hate these things. They tend to blow off and you can put an eye out with them. If you've never seen that video where the guy messes around, puts the bottle in his face and it hits him right in the eye, go check that out after you're done watching my video.
Everyone slowly loosens the cap, the little cork here, and then puts it right up to their eye, you know? It's like Russian roulette, but with bottles. Ah! Oh my god!
It's pretty entertaining. You should never point this at your own eye. And that is kind of stuck in there. The other weird thing is if I can get this out without losing the cork, that is sticky. But it looks like there's some beer soaking up into this fake cork, whatever they're called. Composite cork. No gun smoke, no real pop. I don't know if you'll see that, but look how sticky that cork is. And that's just got beer all over the edge. I don't think I've ever opened a beer, a cork and cap beer or a cork beer that had beer just stuck to the cork like that. Oh yeah, that smells boozy whiskey right there. So we'll get into the pour here. Of course, that's just chocolatey burnt motor oil. Dark black midnight, 40 plus easily. So it says here, rich aromas of roasted malt, dark chocolate, and espresso mingle with warm vanilla and toasted oak notes from the barrels. That does smell like espresso, actually. Vanilla and espresso are the big notes I'm getting on this. Hopefully I have this at the right serving temperature. I usually don't. It's usually too warm. This says 48 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm at 59, so I'm a little warm. 55 in the bottle. So yeah, I'm right about where I'm supposed to be for the serving temperature on the high side. Don't know where to hold this. So back to the notes here. After a swill or two, subtle hints of caramel emerge. I do pick up the caramel. Wow. Along with dried dark fruit such as raisins and dates, I don't get that at all. Adding layered complexity. The ex-bourbon barrels used have a charm all their own, bringing deep char and toasted coconut aromas to the forefront when the liquid comes up a bit in temperature. Get a little bit of char, but not toasted coconut. I definitely get the espresso. It's like vanilla, espresso, caramel. Vanilla, caramel, espresso, and maybe a little char. Surprisingly, for 11.6% alcohol, I don't get any booziness whatsoever on the nose. On the palate, the Jopen and Remorse Dru Whiskey Imperial Stout boasts layers of deeply roasted malt, bittersweet cocoa, dark roast coffee beans, and rich molasses. Let's find out, everybody. If you've stayed this long, I really appreciate it. Cheers. Roasted malt? No. Bittersweet cocoa? Absolutely. Dark roast coffee beans? Yes. Rich molasses? Absolutely. There's also some other interesting complexity there. The Indri Dru whiskey barrels do their best to contribute to the flavor profile by adding the flavors of vanilla, yeah. Toasted coconut. I mean, maybe that's some of that sweetness is toasted coconut kind of flavor, but not distinctly toasted coconut. Well-rounded char. A little bit of char on the edge that we experienced as aromas previously. There's a gentle bitterness throughout. Yeah, I guess there's bitterness, but it's like a bitter chocolate bitterness, not like a hoppy bitterness. Coming from the Columbus hops and a deep roasted barley malt. Toward the finish, we encounter flavors of toasted nuts and a bit of brown sugar sweet. Yeah, brown sugar sweetness, absolutely. This version of Cinnamon Remorse, like others before it, was very inviting and delicious. I agree. Sip after sip. Our empty sample bottle left us craving for more. So I did see on Untappd that there's multiple versions of Cinnamon Remorse. The Jopen Cinnamon Remorse Dru Whiskey Imperial Stout is full-bodied, yeah. Velvety smooth, yes. With a luxurious texture, I agree. The mousse and mouthfeel are creamy and well-rounded, I absolutely agree. With light effervescence, don't get any of that. And excellent balance. Yeah, it's totally balanced. It's also not too weighty, given the upfront maltiness, with our perception being the liquid is well attenuated. The 11.6% ABV does its best to remind you that you are, in fact, enjoying an adult beverage. No way. There's no alcohol in that at all. It's an exceptional imperial stout that marries the bold flavors of the roasted malts with the unique characteristics of Indri Dru whiskey barrels. So I've never even heard of this Indri whiskey or Indri Dru. Never even heard of it. And I don't know that I've ever had a whiskey or a beer. I'm sorry. I've had whiskeys that were aged in previously used whiskey barrels, but I've never had a beer that was aged in ex-bourbon barrels, because my understanding is the ex-bourbon barrels are actually bourbon barrels that were used previously, then used to make this whiskey, and now are being used to make this beer. And if I'm wrong, correct me down below in the comments, because I am in no way a whiskey expert, let alone a beer expert. I'm just an idiot drinking beers and talking on YouTube about them. But there's this complexity there. You get a lot of the flavors that they're talking about. Coffee and chocolate and vanilla, caramel, some char, definitely that brown sugar sweetness at the end. There's another subtle, lingering flavor that's almost like whiskey-esque, but it's not. It's like a good barrel-aged whiskey flavor without any of the burn or anything like that. And there's no, surprisingly, 11.6% alcohol. Zero indication of that. Zero alcohol burn. This is heavy-bodied, viscous, but it's also like velvety and creamy. This is magnificent. I would like, after trying this beer, I would like to find some of this Indri Dru, what's it called? Yeah, Indri Dru whiskey. I would love to find some Indri Dru whiskey and try it. Because I do enjoy a good whiskey now and then. I do try whiskeys here and there, especially single malts and good whiskeys and scotches. I would love to try that whiskey after trying this beer. This beer is phenomenal. I mean, I've given this 2 big horns up. This is absolutely amazing. I think 4.02 is too low for this beer. I can't believe you can age it until 2043. You could sip this around the fire. You could drink this with a nice cigar. You could sip this on an evening like it is today in Cleveland here when it's a cool damp, like 50 degrees. You could sip it now too. I mean, this is a perfect beer. This is really, really good. This is a stellar beer. I mean, this is definitely one of the better beers I've ever had from the Rare Beer Club. I don't know how easy it is to find these beers, the Sin and Remorse series. Because again, if you look on Untapped, there's a bunch of different Sin and Remorse barrel-aged beers, aged in different kind of barrels. But if you see one of these somewhere, pick it up. Because this beer right here is delicious. And if it's any indication of what the general series is about, it's absolutely worth it. Like I say in my intro, I pay about $60. I mean, I get it as a gift. It's my Christmas gift every year for this subscription. But it costs about $60 a month for the 2 big bottles, which with shipping and everything out the door, which equates to about $30 for this bottle. And the paperwork does tell you could pick up a bottle of this for $20.50 plus shipping and handling. And I would pay $30 for this bottle all day long. I would love to share this with friends. I'm very stoked that I get to enjoy this entire bottle by myself. This is definitely one of the better stouts I've had from the Rare Beer Club. This is phenomenal. I just looked at my hand and paused for a second because from pulling that cork out, I still have some like the stickiness of the beer on my hand. But I've definitely gone way long-winded on this one. This is probably going to be a 20-minute plus video. I'm sure at this point nobody's stuck around to hear me just drone on about beer and the Rare Beer Club and stouts and whatever else. But if you have, really appreciate it. Cheers to you. As always, embrace the adventure.